Why are the lenders so particular about your bank statement when you apply for a mortgage? We're going to break it down today. I'm going to explain what drives them, why it's important, and what we can do all to help mitigate this process and make it easier. Number one, anything you put as a down payment plus the closing cost for the transaction has to be in the bank. And if there were recent deposits into the account, especially larger deposits or any cash deposits, they will scrutinize it very thoroughly. This is why I actually come across the situations where my clients that apply for a mortgage say, okay, let's just say they need, for example, 100,000 on the account for closing costs and the down payment. And they have this 100,000, but the money is new, that they deposited most of it recently. So the bank says, so explain to us why you have this deposit, why you have that deposit. And some of my clients say, well, the money is there, you know what do they care? They do. Actually, the government does. And the government comes after banks and says, you have to check. But let's find out why. So the big reason is, of course, anti-money laundering. Okay, that's what they're trying to prevent. They try to prevent money laundering. There's one big reason. Basically, if you put a deposit into the bank account, that deposit has to be sourced and traced. They have to find out where it came from. If it's a gift from your family member, it's perfectly fine, but they're not going to take your word for it. They have to take some proof. They have to get some proof, such as a gift letter and maybe a canceled check from your donor. Sometimes they will go even further and ask for the donor's bank statement. But we here in this office successfully fought some lenders and said, listen, this is a violation of the privacy of the donor. So many times we were able to kind of win that argument. All you need is the image of the check. You see, if somebody gives you a check for $5,000 as a gift, as a family member, this is perfectly fine. Then the image of that check goes to your family member, let's say to your brother. So you need to ask your brother to give us the image of that check. Now, what if you just deposited it with no history? That's a problem. Bank cannot count that money. If we cannot explain the source, bank will not use it as a usable fund. Also, the green cash cannot be used as a legitimate deposit source. Why? Because there is no way to explain where it came from. This is exactly what they don't want. Because if it's green cash, that could be from unauthorized illegal activity such as money laundering. I will mention the second part. There is another law that applies to banks with regards to these deposits. It is called U.S. Patriot Act, which went into law after 2001 terrorist attack on the United States. Terrorists also need money to operate, and that's what the government is trying to prevent. So anytime a lender is asking you for the verification of the deposit, verification of those funds that recently came into your account, it's not the banks they don't do it because they have nothing better to do. They do it because the government requires them, and when the government comes to audit them, they look at this. They can actually get shut down if they don't check. There are ways to prepare for it. Let me just quickly list them. First, try to not to have the money move so much from place to place. If you keep it in one place and there is no deposits in the past 2 months, nobody is going to ask you for what happened 6 months ago. Number two, if you do need to make deposits, let's say you have several checks from relatives as gifts, make one deposit per transaction. In other words, do not combine the checks. Let's say you have 3 checks at 5,000. Don't just say 555 and make a deposit for 15. 5,000, deposit that. Another 5,000, deposit that. So we can see on the statement that there are 3 separate transactions. And always call us or comment in this video. We will be happy to answer more questions. Like this video, subscribe to our channel. We love educating the public on these important and useful tips.